Hi, I'm Brent Sinclair and welcome to Knight Frank Newcastle's Commercial Property Update. This month I'm joined by Will Creedon, Hunter Tourism Advocate and founder of Alloggio, a company with over 2,000 beds under management for short-term accommodation. He's here to discuss Newcastle's visitor economy, opportunities in the market for investment and of course the V8 Supercars event coming up next month. Thanks for joining us today, Will.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Will, you've been a prominent voice in the visitor economy for over a decade. Can you provide us with a bit of a snapshot of the local economy, of the local tourism economy, where we are now and where we're heading?
Yeah, we're only beginning, to be honest. Firstly, plus taking Newcastle in the wider context of the Hunter. The Hunter in the last year welcomed 10.7 million visitors, nearly $2.7 billion of economic uplift to the region. And I suppose over the last 10 years, we've seen a growth of nearly 21% in visitation, but we've seen 49% growth in the economy. Bringing Newcastle into one of the major prongs of that region, we're at the very beginning and we're very youthful in our visitor economy tourism life, our journey. Over the next 10 years, we're going to grow. Visitation is going to grow about nearly 30% from here to 2027. But the real interesting part is our expenditure, our revenue is going to grow nearly 90%. So Newcastle alone is going to nearly hit $2 billion. And when you bring that into the wider context of the Hunter, we're ideally positioned as a district, as a region, to put ourselves forward into the future.
Great. And considering that, from your opinion, where do you see investment opportunities, especially for the private sector, over the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Oh, look, we have the foundations of a multifaceted economy from health, education, financial services, tourism itself, the ag industry, and of course resources. So all of those provide a foundation to lever, and both domestically and internationally. And what is happening, and is going to happen over the next decade to decade and a half, is that we will begin to give more reasons for people to come here. Those reasons are based not just on our natural landscape, but Blind Freddy knows that a natural landscape has to have the build form beside it. And that's new build form and renovated build form. And so what I'm saying is there's lots of opportunity to drive activities and attractions for Newcastle and the Hunter. And anyone that is looking at buildings or greenfield sites needs to be thinking, how can I use the visitor economy in the financial mix to stack up that building? Because it is here based on the numbers. And to re-emphasize the numbers, like you look at the world grew 6% in tourism last year. Asia and Australia grew 7%. So we are actually kicking above that in this region, and we have the capability, and we are accessible both domestically and internationally.
Great. And with a number of new hotels entering the market and alternatives such as Alloggio and Airbnb, do you anticipate an oversupply of beds in the, say, short to medium term?
Oh, God, no. Look, true, there's always peaks and troughs, don't get me wrong, but in the Newcastle geography, and we have been starved of short-term accommodation in all its forms. Hotel rooms, motel rooms, caravan sites, adaptive use of houses, apartments, and also office space. So what is happening, we're only starting to pick up where we should have been a few years ago. So there's pent-up demand here. And our supply is here, our demand is here. Over the coming years, our supply and demand will hit. However, our demand will shoot through based on the other economies that I spoke about it, because the foundations are solid. The other part is, very simply, we got 5.5 million people growing at a rate of knots an hour and a half down the road. We got an airport just about to go international in another 6 weeks' time. Cast your mind 5 years ahead. There will be more route development into that. How do we know this? 68% of all new planes that have a deposit on them today are in Southeast Asia. That is nearly 11,000 new aircraft. So you think about that in the next 15 years, they all have to fly somewhere. And they will go to environments and geographies that appeal to them. Australia, and particularly the East Coast, appeals to them. And certainly Newcastle is a gateway for that.
Excellent. Now, Will, obviously we've got the V8's event coming up next month in Newcastle. It's our second year running the event. And there's obviously a lot of talk around the city about this event. What, in your opinion, where do you see the value that this event brings to Newcastle's visitor economy?
I suppose firstly, there is nobody, regardless if they were born here or have come here for 72 hours on that weekend last year, felt the pride of being a Novocastrian. And for a moment, for 72 hours, Newcastle was the Monaco of Australia, the envy of the entire country. You know, they showcased our beaches, they showcased how we live, how we interact as a community and as a district. And it showcased our originality, our origins. And I wanted to that didn't happen overnight, you know. Over the last decade or so, our area, our councils, our state government, the industry together, have been working diligently towards events and towards finding new ways of actually, firstly, us as residents being rewarded having concerts and different cultural activities, different sports activities here. For example, the Special Olympics, Asia Cup, the World Youth Games, they go on. And Supercars just happened to be the first major event. Now, Supercars is only 1 month. It's in November. There's 12 months in a year. So what we have done over the last 12 months was actually lay the foundations to be able to host and manage all these major events and significant events, build our capability. We've done it numerous times. Supercars just happened to happen as our first major event. I know right now that we're looking at ours to fill the other quarters. What will that do? That will drive further reason to come here, to stay here, to redeploy a regional office here, to actually set up here and use this as the base to retain talent and to bring new talent. So bring it on.
Thanks very much for joining us today, Will. Well, that's all from us. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be sure to keep you updated throughout the year.